Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome all to the regularly scheduled meeting of Town of Montgomery Planning Board for Tuesday, October 15th of 2019. There are agendas on the front table and also a sign-in sheet for people who want to speak on the Medline hearing this evening. First up, can I see a hands of people that want to speak at the comment session for items not on tonight's agenda? Yes, Barbara?
Everybody didn't know they had to sign up.
He said it just about 5 minutes ago.
It looks that way. You got
Okay.
10 minutes.
Do you want me to, are we opening this yet? Or-
This is our comment session
Right.
for items not on tonight's agenda.
Correct, okay. In September, you submitted In September, you submitted to us the finding statement for Sailfish, and that was done in compliance with SECRA. By submitting this, you acknowledge that you have reviewed all of the information and have determined that there are no cumulative impacts that will result in this project moving forward. I can't understand your reason for ignoring the impacts of all of the other projects in front of the board right now. You have 34 major projects, 4.17 million square feet of just warehouse space, 1,000 trucks per day, not including small delivery vans, over 3,500 cars per shift, as most of these places operate 24/7. This doesn't include the projects designed as office space or any of the other projects before the three village boards. And I'd like to know how you are addressing the cumulative impact. The Hudson Valley Patterns for Progress published part 1 of Out of Alignment. They identify that the cost of living is higher than what area wages can support. They identify that the economy is seriously out of line with our demographics. People under the age of 50 are leaving this area. Meaningful employment is being phased out by low-paying jobs. By permitting the warehousing industry to take hold and become a primary economic driver in the town of Montgomery, you are, in effect, promoting lower wage jobs that have great social and environmental impact and encourage this misalignment to grow. In order to live here, people will rely more and more on working elsewhere. They state we must work hard to diversify and strengthen our economy and change how we live so that we can secure the future while maintaining the sense of place that makes the Hudson Valley such an attractive place to live. If we're looking to the future, as I hope you are, it's likely that the Hudson Valley will experience the effects of the next recession in the national economy. The best way to protect ourselves is to diversify. Encouraging the economic monoculture of the warehousing industry gives us no means of diversification and guarantees that any downgrade in the economy will have devastating effects. This is the future that you're creating for us, but it's not the future that we want.
Anyone else like to make a comment for items not on tonight's agenda? Okay, then we'll go right to Medline Montgomery, Medline Industries, Inc., New York State Route 416, SEU permit and site plan. This is a continuation of the public hearing. What I'd like to do is make a brief statement. DEIS hearing was held back in August. We have yet to receive the final environmental impact statement, or FEIS. The idea of the FEIS is to address all oral and written comments that we had received at the hearing and during the public comment period. So because we haven't received that FEIS, this hearing will be continued. We're not going to close any hearing out tonight, any of these hearings tonight. This will be continued to a later date, which we will announce at the end of the meeting. Okay, with all that said, I'll open up the floor to the applicant, like to say a few words, and then we'll get an update on the plans.
Thank you very much. I'll let Larry and Kelly proceed right after me, but I'd like to say that we started this journey over the last 14 months and worked very closely with you guys, and on behalf of Medline Industries, we want to say thank you for your diligence and hard work to allow us to get to this point. We're happy to be at the FAS stage and address every single one of their questions. We also would like to thank the community that provided us with an opportunity to address all the questions and concerns that they have over the last 12, 14 months. We're committed to address all the questions and be their example of an ideal corporate citizen this community has and has ever had. And we believe, as the owner of the project, we will be a great corporate citizen for many years to come. With that, I'll let Larry have a short overview.
Thank you, members of the board and the public. I was asked to elaborate a little bit on the context of where we are in the process and to make sure everyone is aware of what it is we're doing and the time frames going forward. As the chairman announced, the secret hearing was closed in August, and the official public comment period on the State Environmental Quality Review Act process concluded on September 4th. So what we're doing right now, as the chairman alluded to, is working on preparation of a draft of a final environmental impact statement. That impact statement looks at any revisions to the project and also looks at responding to all substantive comments that have been made. The principal purpose of tonight's hearing, since the secret hearing on environmental impacts is closed, is to talk about the site plan and the special use permit. And we're committed to addressing all comments that we can address, as Dimitri mentioned, and those that are workable, we make every effort to integrate into the plan. So it's important that we not only receive comments on environmental impacts, but we receive site plan comments as well. I'm going to step down in a second, sit down and turn this over to Kelly Esch, one of our team engineers, who will not present the entire site plan in detail, but will discuss with you the advancements that have been made to the site plan since our original submissions. And the most recent site plan, I believe, was submitted in September, and it has been reviewed by town consultants. We have many technical comments to address from town consultants, and we're going to get busy doing that right away. So Kelly, why don't you just give an overview?
Thank you, Larry. As Larry said, my name is Kelly Esch. I'm a civil engineer with Martin Associates. Larry teed it up perfectly. I would just like to discuss how the plans have been advanced since our April 17th submission. The revised plans that we submitted to the town on September 20th address the comments we received on June 24th, as well as August 22nd, following an in-person meeting that we had at the town. The majority of our efforts and the majority of the revisions made on the 9/20 submittal surrounding erosion control and earthwork phasing. As a result of that, we now have 9 phases of earthwork. So the original submittal in April contained 3 phases of earthwork. So we took that, we submitted a revised plan in August that had 7 phases, and then we further revised the plan to have 9 phases to limit any max proposed limit of disturbance to be no greater than 18 acres. So no earthwork phase proposes to disturb an area greater than 18 acres. In addition, we also incorporated the town's enhanced measures, so which ranged across BMPs, but maybe the most impactful to note would be all of the sediment basins are double-sized and include things like enhanced stabilization, and we have proposing skimmers now, and I won't get too much further into the details, but this exhibit we created to try to help show on one image kind of the phasing of earthwork across the site. So as you can see, labeled in the number or letter or corresponding letter is the area of cut and the area of fill as you work to kind of mass grade the site as you move across. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. Other revisions were made to the site plan, but the majority surrounded earthwork phasing.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll open the floor up now. We have a list. First person's Maria Beltramitti.
Hi, good evening. Maria Beltramitti, Village of Montgomery. I just want to start by thanking Medline for taking a huge first step in withdrawing the pilot application. I mean, that's huge. But it's not the only step, unfortunately, that concerns the residents. And we heard from David Church at the Village of Montgomery meeting 2 weeks ago or so. And in terms of the traffic, in terms of a comprehensive traffic study, there ain't one. And nobody at the municipal level or at the state DOT has the jurisdiction or the resources to carry one out. So I think that's a very important question that I'd like to put on the table, how that's going to be addressed. And of course, that should be addressed within the context of a master plan, since we have none, and it would be highly irresponsible to go forth with projects the scale of Medline and also Sailfish without having a plan in place ahead of the game. And I realize that's not you're not empowered to declare a moratorium, but that's what we need. We need at least a 6-month break to get the master plan in shape and to see how all of these huge projects and all the people that are here already are all going to section of 416 and 211. It gets worse every day because Aidenbrook has cut a big new road in there, and it's almost at the entrance to the village. I mean, it's a lot closer than their driveway was before. I assume their initial driveway is going to be your entrance. Is that right? Or is there going to be yet another one?
Your entrance will be across from Canning Road.
So where the Aidenbrook driveway is now, approximately? Approximately. Okay, that's what I do. But now Aidenbrook has cut a big new road and much closer to the village. In any case, a moratorium is not saying no to anybody. A moratorium is not even political. It's really just an administrative function to let everybody get their ducks in a row and make sure that we have a clear picture of where we're going in the future. It's not saying no to anybody, okay? So,
Beverly Merck.
Quality daycare is a necessity for most parents. Finding a facility that is licensed with quality staff, works with their schedule, they feel comfortable with, and most importantly, the children feel cared for, nurtured, and loved is a very difficult task. Daycare centers of all sizes are regulated by the New York State Office of Family Services for just those reasons. Parents need someone to help them make sure that these centers are the safest and best choices for their precious little ones. I'm sure the members of the planning board will agree with me on this one for sure. One of the areas that are regulated by the New York State daycare centers is the amount of outside playtime that these children need daily. Children 1 to 4 years old must receive, according to the New York State Daycare Regs, section 418-7.2. Daily supervised outdoor play is required for all children in care, except during inclement or extreme weather conditions or unless otherwise ordered by a healthcare provider. Did you know that in that same section of the New York State Daycare Regs, it states, for day and evening care, appropriate rest and quiet times must be provided so that children can sit quietly or lay down as their individual needs mandate. Now that you are, as the Town of Montgomery Planning Board, have been made aware of these regulations, you have a decision to make. You can allow Medline, the applicant, to a special use exemption to change the current use of the proposed site from its current 3 bays for a warehouse to the desired 285. In order for this warehouse to be constructed, they have stated that they will have to blast rock from the side of the site that sits closest to this to daycare facilities, as well as other highly populated residential areas. When rock is blasted, all of the dust, many unknown minerals, dirt, and other particulates are released into the air where they can remain for hours or days. Yes, this is a natural occurrence. But think of this. The children and adults that will be breathing these particulates in daycares or the daycare centers that will provide care will have to be in violation of the New York State regulations and keep the children inside for their own safety. I'm sure parents may be willing to go along with this for a small amount of time, but with the trucks that will be coming and going, again, in this area, the closest to the residential homes, they won't be for long. So does it seem like a good idea that one highly regulated, established facility jeopardizes their license for another one that wants to come? I foresee that the parents would be having an issue with the blasting and the possible fear that can come from children being woken with that kind of a sound from their naps. No, thank you, not for my children. If you have any interest in the future of this town and its residents of all ages, please consider what you will be exposing us to. And also, I just thought of another thing. Retaining walls collapse under pressure.
Thank you. Wendy Curtis? Hi.
If Medline decides to expand and manufacture, they'll be using ethylene oxide. I'm just wondering what assurances we have that that won't happen, that they won't use that extra land to expand into manufacturing as well.
Okay. Alan Melanson?
Good evening, Alan Melanson. I grew up here in Montgomery. I graduated from Valley Central. I've been working with Medline for 10 years now. I'm not an environmental expert, but but I have been with Medline in 10 years, and I would consider myself an expert in what we do in the warehouse. We drive culture every single day with the team members, with our local community. From the day you walk in the door, so at the entry level all the way to the top, every day we talk about culture. After 10 years with Medline, I can attest that the company will do what it says it's going to do. It's a family company. I already talked about the culture, so from the day you walk in the door, it's being embraced, from doing meetings with team members every single day to having dinners with them every single night. It's what we do. So I know some people may not be appeased by anything we might say, but I hope we can all appreciate this is a company with integrity, and we are looking to do the right thing. Thank you.
Joe Sapelli?
Good evening. My name is Joe Zappelli. I want to thank everybody for spending a little bit of time with us tonight. So I currently am the Senior Operations Manager over at our Medline site. I grew up here in Orange County. I'm currently a resident of the Village of Walden. And just like Alan said, work for a company that every day our pillars of success are taking care of Medline, taking care of customers, and taking care of the team members. We hold true to our culture. We do it in our everyday practice. We do it at the building, off-site, getting involved with things in the community, helping not just ourselves, but our team members address things they want to support in their community. Realistically, Medline, we're a distribution center that we take care of people every day. And I know that everybody in this room has a means of wanting to take care of each other, and I appreciate that from everybody in this room. And I'm looking forward to the future with everybody in this room, all our neighbors. And I just really appreciate everybody's time here today. And really just want to let you know, Medline, I've been here for 4 years now. We do what we say we're going to do. So every day, wake up, and I have satisfaction in what I do, working for my company, Medline, and we say what we're going to do. And I appreciate everybody here, and I appreciate everybody's time tonight, and I appreciate everybody letting me talk. So thank you.
Don Berger?
Evening, everyone. Well, we've been going at this for quite a while, haven't we? I mean, it's been, what, 9, 10 months, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty tired. I've been up here many times speaking. I've been before the other boards speaking, and it's just speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking, and it seems like really nothing's getting done on our end. And I gotta tell you, I've come to learn that Medline, they're a bunch of okay guys and gals. We met a lot of them Saturday at our Montgomery Community Day. We met a whole load of them. Really nice people. And I'm sure that they want to do the best thing for this community if they're allowed to come here. I do openly appreciate the pilot program being pulled. That's a major step. And I know of other things that Medline is negotiating with certain representatives of the community that will benefit this community. So my point to that is that I really believe that you guys want to be a great community leader here. There's no doubts about that. Here's my doubts. My doubts are in you guys. My doubts are in the town board. I've never in my entire life have seen such a dysfunctional set of boards as these boards here. You seem to allow anything to come before you. You have no plan, you have no guides to where you're going. You have so much in front of you, you just act as if it's nothing. that it's meaningless. I say it's meaningful, that you have to have a comprehensive plan. You've got to have a plan. And I don't want to use profanity here, but sometimes you just boil me up that I really want to, but I'm going to hold back. I don't get it. What the hell is wrong with you people? And I say that because, Fred, you have so much on your damn plate. And you, Freddie Reichel, should be able to say to this board and go to your town board leaders and say, hey, we can't do all this. I don't have the time. Freddie Reichel doesn't have the time to study this. So I'm saying that you cannot possibly give good consideration to anything that's before you. Not a single thing. I don't care if it's a Dunkin' Donuts, I don't care if it's an Amazon. You can't give righteous, meaningful thought to it. Not the way it's constructed today, Freddie. Not with everything that's in front of you. It's absolutely absurd that this group of people, our town board, and forget about that freaking IDA board, they don't give a damn about nothing, that you would not say, hey, you know what, Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas coming up, I need a vacation. You know? The other part, I look at you guys and gals, and I think you're all rather good people. And that's why I'm saying to you, what the hell is wrong with you? Where are you getting all your thoughts from? Never mind the conflicts of interest on this board, on the town board, and on the IDA board. So I ask, who the conflict of interest on this board right here, who are you serving, Mr. Featherstone?
I'm serving this town, sir.
That's
As evidenced in my comments to this board.
There isn't anybody in this room that looks at the technical aspects of these plans as Mr. Featherstone. We got a comment letter today, 95 new comments on the site plan alone. He is the one who does the most criticism. He's the teacher with the biggest red pen. Make no mistake about it. And he has been for years for us.
Sir, I didn't need a vacation. I had plenty of time to do that, sir.
He works for the lady that's sitting behind me.
No, that's not true. I work for Mazer Consulting, sir. You have to get your facts straight, please. You're at a public hearing. I appreciate if you have your facts straight.
I have my facts, and I look right at you. You're the problem.
I'm the problem.
That's right.
I'm making technical
You're
comments,
the
sir.
problem.
I'm not a voting member of this board, sir.
Okay. Barbara Lerner?
My comments have been addressed by other speakers, so I'd like to give my time to someone else.
Okay. Sue Reichert?
I'm just saying my comments have been addressed.
Okay. Randy?
Not
Green?
ready yet.
You're not ready? Anyone else like to comment? If you need a few more minutes, it's fine.
I can jump ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
I was on the second sheet of paper, sign up.
Okay, so Barbara. Okay.
Hi, my name is Karina Tipton. I live in the village of Montgomery. I am a civil and environmental engineer as well, as many other people in this room are, apparently. I understand that this meeting is supposed to be with comments specific to the site plans and the SEU permit application. As the applicant's counsel and consultant have stated, those plans are currently under revision. The site plans were included as an appendix to the draft environmental impact statement. I know I also submitted a number of comments, 12 pages, pulled an all-nighter, not proud of that. I should have played my time better. With such substantive comments submitted just in the draft environmental impact statement process that impact the site plan, including the SWIP, it's really precipitous to hold this public hearing on the site plan when the public has no idea about these revisions that are currently being made. I cannot go back and confirm if my comments have been addressed. I've got a ill parent, I work for a living in another state, I have a family at home, I can't come to town hall and look up these documents. I'm not even sure if they're available to me, to be honest. It's impossible for a public to become informed and to speak at a public hearing such as this, which is being held in advance of the draft environmental impact statement comments being addressed, and without having any knowledge that additional documents have been submitted by the applicant. I just heard about 95 new comments, I'd love to read them. In addition, I did not hear that the applicant has submitted any additional comments related to the geotechnical concerns with building on soils at this site, which are pretty slippery soils. I don't have my notes in front of me, so I can't tell you exactly the determination that they are, but they're not great for building on. We're talking about a 30-foot tall retaining wall with a building that's another 35 feet on top of that with heavy tractor trailer loads, which are dynamic loading conditions. I have no idea if that's going to be safe. I work at a site with a masonry block retaining wall very similar to what was described in the site plans that I got to review, that was developed not by a geotechnical engineer, but by the manufacturer of that masonry block wall. It's a 6 to 8 foot wall. It's adjacent to an elevated FedEx tractor trailer parking lot. So again, those dynamic tractor trailer loads, they failed within the first year. I'm sure it was installed correctly. It just couldn't handle the trucks backing up and bumping into the fence posts. So right now we have to go back and we have to work with the owner of that site to repair that wall. And that's something that I'm dealing with in my day job. That's the kind of comment that I put forward in the draft environmental impact statement. I don't know if they're being addressed now. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage in this public hearing, and I'm frustrated by that. I also recently learned that the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation submitted a letter on October 8th, and that included the statement that that office believes that the proposed warehouse and extensive truck distribution facility will directly impact the setting associated with National Register listed resources in significant and demonstrable ways. And that they recommend in their letter that the next step of this process is for the applicant to explore opportunities that might avoid or minimize the massive visual scale of the proposed development, and to avoid impacts that will impact the surrounding resources, the historical resources. Again, that's a super critical comment that directly has impacts on the site plan. The site plan includes architectural drawings, it includes the retaining wall, it includes the roadway that's going to be dumping trucks out onto Canning Road just up the street from the African American burial ground. There's a lot of loose ends here. And the comment is, the public does not have the opportunity at this stage to speak knowledgeably in a public hearing. And I wanted to share that with you and reinforce the geotechnical concerns, the fact that the Wallkill River was evaluated improperly with an assumption that it's going to be able to handle stormwater discharge at a much different rate than it actually does at this project site. And then this historical impact. It impacts all of us. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
I guess I'm ready.
You ready?
Hi, I'm Randy Green. I have a business and a home in the village, and this isn't, I really only wrote down as I was listening to everybody what I wanted to say. I kind of wanted to gauge by the tone of the day, and this is what I got. I think that we've done this all wrong from the start. Of course we did, because this isn't our job. The stage was set for the village residents to have an adversarial relationship with Medline from the very first informational meeting we had. We had a mayor that called a meeting, refused to speak on it, refused to moderate or mediate it whatsoever, and we were already researching things and being fed information, and rumors were already flying around that we were already on the defense, and that's not the way this should have been presented ever to us. Before anybody ever came to the village and put Dimitri in front of a crowd full of angry and suspicious people, the town supervisor and the mayor should have gotten together to discuss the effects on the village, because that is the village, that's who's going to be affected by this project primarily, as is the village of Walden because of the Tin Brook with Amazon. So something should have been done there as well. These are the issues, and we keep getting distracted by the people and the projects that are being put in front of us instead of looking at the real issue. The real issue is the lack of communication in government. We should have had proper representation to address the applicants about our concern. Our elected officials should have acted as liaisons between the applicant and its residents. If the elected officials are not part of the solution, they are part of the problem. So that being said, I do not have any desire to be part of the problem. Over the course of the last 4 months, I've obsessed about this and other proposed projects. I've interviewed Orange County Partnership Rod, Steve Brescia, RJ Smith, Dimitri Ducon, Tom Fallon, Bill Viavarante, Dennis Leahy, Susan Cockburn, Brian Marr, John Capella, Nick Fitzpatrick, Senator Skoufis, Kristen Brown, John Canning, the town supervisor of Wawayanda, another legislator, and then some. I've researched cast down lights, noise ordinances, etc. I've toured the facility on more than one occasion. I have talked to any resident that was interested in speaking to me in Wawayanda, in Montgomery, in the town, in Walden. I've talked to anyone that would listen pretty much to try to gather as much information as I could. And all while running a business and having 5 kids. So I'm tired. I'm really tired. And this isn't my job. I've talked to Dimitri on multiple occasions. I brought to the table a lot of the concerns that I got from the residents, most of which were traffic and safety related. My expertise is not environmental, so I know what I see, and what I see from my store is traffic and the safety involved that goes along with that. Sorry, I have no words. So everything that I brought to Dimitri and all of the concerns I expressed, I said we need to have a community benefit agreement. So over the course of the last couple months, while I was speaking with anybody that would listen and trying to figure out as much as I could, I continued to negotiate with Medline, and they were pretty much more than willing to at least entertain any project that I thought was important to the village and that would affect the village because of the Medline traffic. They also, I don't want to say I did it, but I'm just saying, drop the pilot. You're welcome, guys. And with that, they were no longer accountable for the $25,000 in Medline supplies to the community, which they had said they were going to do on top of the pilot. That's something they also agreed to because they, from what I gather, are interested in being a good member of the community, and if they're going to be a member of the community as a medical supply company, they are more than happy to supply that. So, sorry. If they behave and do what they are representing to me, I am okay with Medline, not because I drank the Kool-Aid, I have not been bought, but because they were zoned properly and because the writing is on the wall. We have failed ourselves, the residents, the board members, and all of us collectively by not updating the comprehensive plan. That's the issue that we need to be focused on. And I think there are a great many things that we as a community could and should be doing. For one, we haven't discussed a comprehensive plan committee in months, and we're stalling on hiring a planner. I don't see any of the board members at the town board meeting, and I see one Lone Ranger here tonight. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. We need to stop focusing all of our energy in a negative fight against something and start coming together in a positive way. We need to come to the table with solutions and not be part of the problem. And I think that that starts with the election. So I hope that everybody understands where I'm coming from, and if you don't, I'm sorry to hear that. But I think that we need to stop focusing on anti-Medline and move forward and change and try better for next time. And that's that.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Yes, Susan? Hi.
Okay. There's a reason we don't have a comprehensive plan. The one we have is bits and starts and bits and pieces. This thing was resurrected, the hubcap of the Northeast. When the first comprehensive plan went in, you could have drank a beer and smoked a cigarette in any one of those vehicles. The building is the problem. The structure is the problem. I'm an environmental engineer. I know exactly how this is going to play out, and I think some people here do too, but everybody's afraid about lawsuits. And I think you know Mr. Hoytas. They've been going on here since the 1970s. The same people with new additions, always suing to get what they want, and it's just structure. You know, I'm glad Randy made friends with people and stuff. It's the structure. It's the amount of trucks, the amount of vehicles, the amount of compression on the soils, it's the amount of runoff. I heard Mr. Dimitri say that his trucks could go through any kind of flooding. That's really not what you want to do with stormwater. You don't want to flush the bottom of tractor trailers and have it run into the Wallkill River. It floods there. There were studies done. You need to stop. You need to get a comprehensive plan in place so that the structures that come in this town are no longer compromising all the people that are here and that will be here now and in the future. There is so much work going on now, trying to remediate the Wallkill River. There's parks that are getting developed. This is completely adversarial, the size of this structure, along with a lot of the other things that are on the slate, barreling through Montgomery. And I think you know that what's on the books is never, ever the scale of what you're reviewing. Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, Cherie?
Thanks. Hi, good evening, Cherie Zahakis. I don't have much to add, but it's 3 words: location, location, location. I am sure Medline wants to be the great corporate citizen that they say. I have no doubt about that. I see no evil in Medline, and I am not inferring that. But it is location, 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 and size. Size matters. There are other places in Montgomery that they may be able to relocate that's a better location. It just seems very harsh. And obviously what they just said is there's irrevocable changes that are going to occur to this town, to our history and our value. I've stood before this board and the town board stating we can be more than just warehouses. And again, I'm not against these warehouses. I'm against location, location, proper location, and proper treatment. And that's the problem. We've migrated off of Neely Town that was originally there, and we're spreading. It's kind of like the blob. It's oozing everywhere, and it's going unchecked. And I do believe, as was stated, there's so much on your plate. I know that sometimes you don't even get to see the documents by the time they come here. It's your jobs, really, not just to rely, in my mind, on the engineer and the lawyer. It's your job for yourselves to look at these things. I don't know how you're doing it with everything in front of you. So again, I'm just here to say we are a historic town. The land is very valuable. There is other locations that they could go if they truly wanted, I believe, within our town. There is locations should they desire it. And that's all I'm here to say. Thanks.
Can I see another hand up? Yes. Your name, sir?
How you doing? My name is Bob Betts. I'm with Napa Electric. We're an electrical contractor in Orange County. We helped build the original Medline. We actually figure in construction side. They'll come in, build it, and we go away. But we've actually been there the whole time. We're able to make some small changes. They need us to come back in, make sure everything's still running correctly. So it's not just a one-shot deal, even for the construction side too. And I've also heard a couple people say they're worried about a recession. When you're looking at that, Medline is actually onto the, as far as medical. So if ever anything happens, medical is the one area that's the strongest people really need. So if they have all the different projects to go on, this is probably the one you really want to definitely get. So that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Hey, board? Anybody have anything they'd like to add? Anything they'd like to ask? Yeah, there are a set of site plans here. The most recent ones we got. There were comments from our landscape architect and engineer, and also the RHP letter to address. So there's some work to be done. So if nobody else has got any comments or consultants. All right. We're hopeful that we'll get the FEIS soon. The idea will be to get it so that it's complete at some point. It will take time for us to review it. Our goal is to get it in your hands as soon as it is complete and filed. and you will have the public will have an opportunity, all the while working on the site plan to get it more in line to what we're looking to accomplish, what the applicant's looking to accomplish. So there's no sense rushing to the next hearing and having it quickly, like we have our meetings every 2 weeks. We thought we would continue this hearing at a special meeting here on December 4th, so Tuesday, Wednesday, December 4th at 7:30 in this building. And that'll be this will be everyone's notice that it'll be here. You won't get there will be a special meeting notice, I believe, posted. It'll be online. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to continue this hearing out on December 4th. By John, seconded by Rich. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Just leave it to this guy, so she knows it's explained.
Did she left?
Catch up with her.
Yes, okay.
This is my pen. Do you need it?
No, he just used, I thought it was his.
I'd slip a bit.
Okay, everyone, next this evening, we've got 915 room 17K, LLC, Skibitsky Moderno, a CU permit site plan, 3-lot commercial subdivision. This is a continuation of public hearing. And representing the applicant is Larry Marshall. How are you, Larry?
Good, how are you?
Good. You think you fill us in on where we stand?
Sure. Since the last submission that we made and discussion that we had with the board, the applicant has met with the fire chief regarding some of the requests and concerns that they had regarding access to the to the proposed buildings. To mitigate some of the concerns that they had requested a secondary emergency, or I guess a tertiary, a third entry point into the proposed facility from Bracken Road. This would serve solely as an emergency access travel driveway. So we have made that revision at their request. Basically, it accesses the loading area of proposed lot 2, and will access off of Bracken Road between the stormwater facilities. There's a fire retention facility and then the detention basin, and the intermediate berm in between to be used as a gravel access. Some minor revisions have been made to the plan to accommodate that, and we presented submitted plans for review. In addition to that, we have, I know that they were just submitted this morning, but we do have a preliminary lighting plan for Member Kelly to review. We did have a submission of a lighting plan, I think, several months ago, but Member Kelly did not review them because of the questions and concerns over the access point off of 17K. So we've updated the plan to reflect the removal of the access point as well as one of the fixtures, and provided that for the board's review.
Thank you. We received a new set of plans on the 10th, I believe. So, Thursday? They are circulated now. Most of us are just getting them this evening. So we're in the process of a review. I will open the floor up for questions from the public, as this is a continuation of a hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on 915 17K this evening? Yes, Rena?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a broken record. We just received the site plans again, and we're having a public hearing. I feel like it would be more effective for us as the public if we would understand when you're truly going to close the public hearing, because it's very difficult for us to stay abreast of all of these changes. And I appreciate that you keep these meetings open for a long time so you have greater transparency and more opportunity for us to interact with you and with the applicants. I truly do appreciate that, but it makes it really hard for us to know when to show up. And I just wanted to express that. And I mean, we're doing our best here too. We want to stay informed. I love this community. I love my neighbors. I love the friendships I've made sitting in this very room.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot. It's a lot for all of us.
What happens when we close a hearing? Once it's open, we have to come up with a date to reconvene.
Right.
That's why the Medline hearing, we came up with a date when we closed a hearing 2 months ago. We have to have a date. Once we make that date, we are committed to it.
Right.
So that's what's happened here. We can't just say, well, we're not going to talk about it tonight if we had committed to having the hearing. So we have to open it. We know we're going to continue this because we just got the plans. The same with Medline. We know we're going to have to continue that because we're working on the site plan.
Sure.
It's not ready. So we have to commit when we leave that night. We can't commit, I can't commit Friday. I got to commit tonight. That's why that happens. And it's unavoidable.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're governed by Robert's rules. Like, I've served on committees myself. I totally appreciate all that. If it's possible to make a procedural suggestion, the town has just updated their website. They should have some kind of infrastructure for a file sharing service. It would be great to understand the timeline of these projects as new documents are coming in. I know I'm asking you to do even more work. I'm sorry, Sue. but like, just having this transparency when we show up at the meeting is great for those of us who are capable of showing up at the meeting, but not everybody who is impacted by these projects can come to every meeting. And to hear you saying that this will be extended for a period of time. So having just a little bit of extra written documentation so people can look it up. Being able to review the meeting minutes. I saw that there's a huge number of meeting minutes that are going to be approved tonight. Yeah. That kind of additional diligence would greatly serve the community. So thank you.
Yeah.
You know, to what you're saying, a lot of the time there's a file file sharing service provided by the applicant.
Right.
Medline, Sailfish, some of these larger projects that have just a tremendous amount of documentation. We're given access, the board is given access, perhaps some of these applicants would give the public the access as well. You know, it's already there, you know, it's just getting the access.
Yeah, and I appreciate, sorry.
We can hear you, that's fine.
Well, I
You
mean,
say it.
I'm always really conscious of like accessibility issues, so in case somebody has a problem with their hearing, I always click to the
Okay.
microphone. I've looked at other towns, I've gone back and I've looked at places where applicants have applied to different towns, right? Just as part of my own due diligence, trying to understand what they're proposing when they want to come into Montgomery, what they've proposed to other communities. Other towns do have their own file sharing services. It would be as simple as having like a download-only permissible Google Doc that's linked from the town website. I mean, it's something that, like, if we can make something like that happen, and I do feel that this falls into the same category as the planning board needing to ask the town for the resources that they need, which I would say the same thing, it's the same situation as the comprehensive plan. Like, the town doesn't, there's no, are there town board members? I didn't notice. I don't think there's any town, right, so that like, rarely, there's not a lot of town board, thank you for coming tonight. There's not a lot of town board members here. They don't always hear what you need. So it might just be a situation of just raising your hand and saying, we have a new website. How can we make it work better for the community? These are our issues. What can we do? And the applicants' websites are awesome. They've been super helpful with the larger projects, but some of these, some of the smaller projects have the same amount of comment, the same amount of change on the project applications. And those applicants may not have the firepower, the dollar behind the project application to do that kind of a process.
It's also very important to understand, we don't need to have 4 or 5 renditions of one project.
Agreed, yeah, agreed.
And that's what we end up doing. We end up getting a submittal and then in 2 weeks another one and in 2 weeks another one. So we try to make the documents available here, but we don't approve it until it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I appreciate that, and like I'm an environmental consultant too. Like I get the drill. I
Cutting down a lot of trees.
Yeah, I know. In those situations, a timeline, something like a timeline or something that's available to people who can't make it to the meetings would be helpful.
Because our agendas are online, right?
Yes.
Right, so you know what's going on.
Right, we know it's coming up, but you don't know if it's super urgent that you call for a babysitter, you ask somebody else to go visit dad in the hospital that night, you know, it's that kind of situation. You don't know how to prioritize the demands.
No, I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Don.
So, going back to what I said earlier, so you know, I'm not against warehousing either, as long as they're put in locations that are appropriate. The thing about this particular project is, again, as Cherie says, location, location, location. The location of it really kind of sucks. We have Lakeview, we have all the residential property that's over there, and we have that glaring Berea Elementary School. And, I know they moved their curbing into inside Bracken Road, but, I have a hard time believing that those trucks are gonna go all the way around the other end of Bracken Road and not, meander out on 17K. There's just a load of things that troubles me, and the 3 things or actually 4 things that I think that are very glaring here that you're getting the biggest responses to are Medline, Amazon, Bracken Road, and those 2 dummy things you guys put up at ShopRite. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. But neither here nor there, you have to understand where the residents are coming from. It is location. It is where you're putting these things, or where the applicants are attempting to put these things. I just don't understand why we have to put them in those locations. I don't understand why the town boards and the planning boards haven't sat down with these applicants and said, hey, you know what? We do have property back here. Why don't we put it back here? If you really truly want to come into the Montgomery area. I just don't understand why this thing has to be over there by Berea and Lakeview and Medline where it is, and then Amazon, the effects it's going to have on Walden. And I think if you look at the residents, I don't think we're a pain in the neck. We have glaring issues with the applicants and where they're trying to put these particular warehouses. If they were on the Neely Town corridor, inside the Brackham Road, down on where the Galaxy projects are going on, I sit here and tell you is that I don't have a problem with that stuff, because it's appropriate in those areas. These don't seem to be appropriate as a whole. I think very little thought has been given to it from my way of looking at things, and I really, really, really wish that this stuff